Hey everybody, I'm Troy Williams and Kristin Beck. I think it's safe to say of all the transgender people I've ever met, you are the first person who deserves her own action figure.
Wow, that's kind of cool.
If last year was the Mormon moment, 2014 seems to be the transgender moment. Everywhere that we're looking in media, we are seeing transgender stories like never before. You all are coming out and you're sharing your lives on an unprecedented level, and it's so exciting for all of us. So, how's it been being so public?
It's tough, and like I said, it's not a choice. None of this is ever a choice. I was put in a position where I have a voice, and if I can use that voice and I can use that spotlight to shift it back around and show it to the kids, show them that there is a future for us, that this suicide rate is crazy. There's so much prejudice, there's so much hatred, there's so much going on. I want to try to be a part of helping that. And I think that a lot of people in this room, Damn These Heels, the film festival, there are so many people trying so hard to show the love, the respect, the dignity that we all deserve. That's what I'm trying to do. And I think it just happens to be the right time that a lot of this is really happening. But it really was because of the LGBT movement. It was because of the civil rights movement of the 60s. It was because of, this is just the tail end of all of that going on. Mm-hmm. And I think our society in America, we're kind of at that point where it's like, okay, enough is enough. Enough is enough. Let's get this done with. Let's just start treating everybody as equals. This color of my skin, this gender, this religion, this whatever, these little differences that we have, we should be celebrating those. We shouldn't be picking on each other for those.
I think they're all celebrating. Yeah.
Am I talking too much?
No, it's good. It's good. I am going to open it up to questions in a bit, but I got a few questions. One of my favorite parts of the film is I noticed that your sister is quite comfortable referring to you as a she, but your brother and your dad, it's a little bit more difficult. But there is that beautiful moment when he kind of accidentally refers to you as a she. Talk a little bit about how you help communicate this transition to your family.
It's tough. I mean, it takes everyone a period of growth, and it's not something that you can force people to understand, because this is different. You have to give them a little bit of time. And so I was giving them that time, and the misgendering, and there's words and things that are thrown around, and there's so much infighting amongst our community in general that's just a shame, because it's going to take a little bit of time. And you know when somebody's doing it on purpose, or you know that somebody's just getting kind of used to it or whatever. But you have to give them a little bit of time. And that's what I try to do. I just give them the time. Mm-hmm. And I was showing them through my spirit. I was showing them through my actions rather than me forcing words on them. I was showing them through my actions who I was. I was showing them through my actions that I was worthy of this is who I am. And then it built up that they started understanding it, and then they were able to respect it. Theory and words, you can just talk as much as you want, but until you start acting the part, until you start doing the right thing, the words don't mean anything.
Yeah.
My dad came to that point when he respected me as Kristin, as me.
And even though the pronouns may slip up now and then, it's very clear he loves you and he's got your back.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's trying.
That's all
we all should try. That's really the point of this is, life is screwed up. Life is difficult. Life is, ups and downs, and it's a roller coaster. On those down points, I'm going to try to give you a hand and try to help you out. And I have my down points. I have my times when I need a little help too. We all do. But just giving each other that hand, giving each other that little bit of effort is what really makes it worthwhile. Mm-hmm. Help each other out. That's really, really the most important thing.
I was struck in the film that there's this idea that you are still at war, that your makeup becomes armor. Do you ever want to just have peace and downtime?
I don't have time for that. Unfortunately, this time in our history, the LGBT movement, you can see it, the battleground state, Utah, and you see all the other epithets being thrown around. it really is. It's like, if I can win that war of the minds, if I can win that war with those bigots and the people who are prejudiced at it, if I can change a few of those minds, then I'm doing well. And if all the rest of us sitting here in this audience, that you're enlightened enough that you want to start seeing something else, no matter what community you're part of, are you part of the human community? And you're trying to see what else is out there. There's so much we can do.
Are you really a hippie? You're a big peacenik hippie, aren't you?
I think I am. It took me a while to get.
I'm on to you.
I'm a hippie fighting the good fight, I guess.
Sure.
Strong hippie. Yeah. Hippies can be strong.
But your teammates, they're working through this a lot. And they're just like, we support you at the transition, but just don't be so public about it.
Yeah.
Why is that important?
It was funny when he said that. He says, we're not really worried about the transition, but it's just the way it all happened.
Right.
What happened? SEAL Team freaking 6, transgender, what do you expect? The news was hounding me left and right. Mm-hmm. Anytime anything comes up in the military about anything that has to do with LGBT, I get phone calls from almost everyone. Yeah. And you'll see more and more of that. They just want someone that can speak a little bit for us. And I hate speaking for the entire community, but sometimes you just need one voice. Mm-hmm. And if that happens to be me for some of these things, then I'm going to try to represent us as well as I can.
Yeah.
And so these news people are constantly bugging me about that stuff. There's nothing I can do about that.
Hey, Anderson Cooper knocks on your door, you just say yes.
Actually, I said no at first.
Right.
It was Good Morning America and a whole bunch of other ones, and I told them all no, because I didn't want to go on the news.
Yeah.
But it just got to the point when I was like, okay, I got to do something. So I called Anderson Cooper's producer up, and I said, yeah, I'll go on with you guys. So they came down and interviewed me.
Yeah. Beautiful. All right. I want to throw open the mic. There's a microphone over here. If you all want to if you have questions for Kristin and you want to come down and ask them, please do.
Don't be
Moody's
scared.
coming down. He's kicking it off.
You're scared. I see. No. Hey.
Hi. No.
I'll repeat the question.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, I think it's working right now. First of all, thank you for making me cry throughout the whole film. I've gotten to a point where I don't cry when I see gay films anymore, but I cry every time I see a transgender film. And when I think about this national stage that we're fighting on for marriage equality, it isn't just about the right to marry who you love. It's really about breaking down gender barriers, and you definitely are on the forefront of that for us. So thank you.
Thank you.
One question I had is, when you see pictures of Chris, how do you feel? Because when I saw pictures of Chris Beck, I didn't relate to him, but I relate to you as Kristin Beck. So how does that make you feel when you see old pictures of yourself?
That's an interesting question, and that comes up a lot, I think. And I think that's a struggle that we have in our transgender community, that we're trying so hard to just cut that entire life off and push it away. That we're trying to live this thing that's in these fashion magazines. We're trying to live these things where we're saying, hi, I'm this fashion model in those magazines and beautiful. And just like that stereotypical woman. And it goes back into that binary. I don't mind Christopher. That's who I was. I embraced that person because that's the person that got me to where I am right now. I embraced that person because the person was a little confused. That person was pretty messed up sometimes. But those struggles and those challenges got me to where I am right now. For us to deny who we were before, and for us to deny that, hey, I'm different. I wasn't born like any other woman. I wasn't born like any other man. And that's the challenge I've been given. And I'm going to step up to that challenge. I'm going to do the best I can. I'm not going to try to be one of those fashion magazine women. I'm not one of those women. I'm a retired Navy SEAL, strong woman that's a little masculine sometimes. It's okay. We come in all different shapes and different sizes. And part of that different shape and that different size that I'm proud of the fact that, yeah, I did all that stuff. And it's a shame that we keep trying to push each other into those two extremes. That if you're a trans man, you need to be the Conan. You need to be this guy. You need to fit all these things. And the same thing for trans women. that we're being forced into fitting in all these other stereotypes of the perfect woman. I've never met a perfect woman yet, or a perfect man. I've met people, and just living as well as I can with my past and just appreciating that and doing better in the future is what I'm really trying for, that I am now. So I still like Chris. I know he had some problems, and I know that I've gone a long way from there. So I've gone a long way from when we were shooting this film. I look at this thing and I'm like, holy cow. Or what I was doing a year ago with Anderson Cooper. I've done so much since then, or I've grown so much. That's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to grow. We're supposed to become better. We're supposed to do something. I think the whole thing comes down to, this might get a little religious or spiritual, but we're that little spark, that little soul, that thing that we have inside of us, whatever you want to call it. I call it the spirit. I call it, a gift from the Creator. That little spark is the same in all of us. And once we start seeing that, once we start doing better towards that direction, then we're going to be so much better as a human race. We're only here for one thing. It's one test, one little question. Are you being good to each other? It's a simple question. It's a yes or no, just check the box. I'm trying to be good to everyone. I'm trying to be good to myself. I'm trying to start liking myself. I'm trying to start loving myself. Then I can do that for everybody else. Then I can look every human being in the eye. I don't see any of this. I see that little spark. And I try to be good to that spark. That's pretty much it.
Cool.
Does that answer the question?
One quick question. Can you, what have been your observations since Don't Ask, Don't Tell has been repealed? What kind of transformations have you seen in the U.S. military?
It's better. The Don't Ask, Don't Tell was repealed, so you're allowed to openly serve as an LGBT individual, not the T. I repeat, not the T. Mm-hmm. So if you're a lesbian or gay or bisexual in the military, you're allowed to serve. You're allowed to start being yourself. You don't have to hide. You don't have to constantly watch your tongue and watch what you're saying. You don't have to constantly be in this little shell of protection and have extra armors on. So you're able to do a better job, right? Because you're not constantly worried about this stuff. You don't have this weight over your head, over your entire being. Now, I can look in the mirror, and this is all part of the same story. I can look in the mirror, and if I have my partner, I have somebody there next to me, and I say, yes, I love this person. I'm looking in the mirror, and I say, yeah, it's good. This makes me a better person. But at the time, if it was a man and a man, and you look in the mirror and say, yes, I'm gay, I love this man. I'm a lesbian, I love this woman. When you're looking at that person, it's an extension of you as yourself. That's one layer removed. But if I'm a transgender person and I'm looking in that same mirror and all I can do is punch that mirror and break that mirror, how freaking deep is that? Now that's when you look at it, you say, how can I be a good person? How can I do a good service? How could I do well in society if all I'm doing is looking at that mirror and punching it and breaking it? So we still have this big gap. So finally the military's realized that, yes, we want everyone to do well. We want to give you as many chances as you can to, thrive and be a good person. So they've done that. And that's what the military is seeing. The military is seeing a lot of really good people step up and do really good jobs. They've seen an increase in productivity. They've seen it better overall. There's been no repercussions. There's been nothing negative. Same thing can happen with transgender people. I fully believe that once they say, yes, you're transgender, no problem, let's rock and roll. There are 13 countries in the world who allow transgender service people. And they're doing fine. So yeah, let's rock and roll. The military, I think, is one of the things that really I'm working so hard, and I'm meeting with the Secretary of Defense, and I'm meeting with folks inside the Pentagon, and I'm meeting with folks in Congress, always talking about the military, and I show it. That's why I wear these, because I always want it to be in their face. They see that, and they go, okay, you've served. I sit in a congressman's office, and I have a big purple heart on. That's all I wear when I see those guys. If you're sitting in the outside office of a congressman with a purple heart on, you sit there for about 3 minutes max. So they let you in. So I use that to my advantage. So I say, hey, Congressman, nice to meet you. I only need 2 minutes. And then I talked to him, and I was fighting for ENDA, the Employment Non-Discrimination Act. I met a lot of congressmen, a lot of Republicans. So we almost had it. I think we can still do it. We're getting there. The military, once they figure this out and they allow transgender service, the military is that block that needs to be taken care of. Once the military says, yeah, Joe and Jim Bob down there in Mississippi, they're going to go, well, the military says it's okay, so I guess it's okay. Right?
Exactly.
So that's why I'm working hard for the military. I want the military to understand this. Then a lot of the other people in the country are going to look at it and go, oh, okay, I'll give you a shot. And if we just get a shot, that's all we really need. Then they're going to go, all right, yeah, you guys are okay. Just like you saw in that bar. I walked in there, those people wanted to beat the crap out of me. But I stayed, and I talked to a few people, heard a little bit of the story, and now they're all friends.
Mm-hmm. So I bet you could take them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wasn't worried.
Awesome. Dominique?
I think we're on the same wave. That's kind of where I was going. So I'm going to switch gears a little bit. And first of all, Kristin, I've seen a lot of documentaries, especially queer documentaries, working with the Queer Lounge and things like that. But this is honestly one of the best documentaries as far as the shooting, the editing, everything. So for your team that put it together, wow. And for your honesty, wow again. It was alluded to in the film of all the missions you went on, and that it was like you had a death wish. Over my 20 years of playing this game, I've talked to a lot of ex-military people who said, I took the hard missions because it would either man me up or kill me. Either way, I was cured. So I hate to be a bummer, but can you talk about a little bit about that? And then when you're done, talk about how many trans people are serving.
Thank you. Well, first, I guess that's a really good way to start that, because I was just speaking about the military. Currently serving in the United States military, there are approximately 15,000 people in uniform that are transgender. 15,000 people are right now in hiding, in fear of their job, hiding from all that stuff with that extra armor and all that shell and that weight that's not over them. So. And when I say that to the SecDef, and I say that to some of the other folks up there, the generals and the admirals, that number, I just want them to sink that in. Can you imagine those 15,000 people if they were free and they were able to work and do their full potential? Be a better military. I never had a death wish. I was reckless. People always say that because I guess that's an easy term to say. It's an easy way to label it. The missions are too important. I have too many people relying on me. You have your guys in front of you, your guys in back of you. You're going out there with 30 people, and you're doing things. So you can't have anybody out there that's a loose cannon. You can't have anyone that has a death wish. So that's not really proper. But I was definitely reckless. I used to go out a lot. You saw that picture with the Mujahideen and some of the other folks. I used to go out and meet those guys. My job in the military, my biggest job in the military was meeting with the Taliban, meeting with those commanders and meeting with the leaders and talking to them like I'm talking to you right now. I have saved more lives and I have done more for this country as far as building peace with a handshake than I ever did with a weapon. And that's the truth. And that's what I strive for. And as a matter of fact, I'm applying to go work with the Department of State here pretty soon. And I'll be back in Iraq shortly as Kristin. Working with the Department of State, doing just that, building peace, building, camaraderie, building the bridges across. And I love the Mormons building bridges, by the way. There should be a handshake. The Mormons building bridges, I think, is a great organization, and that's what we need to do. We need to try to build these bridges. And so I'm going back over there to build some of those bridges. So it wasn't a death wish. I was definitely reckless. I remember in a 4 or 5 month period of time, I did like 230 something missions behind lines by myself, just going out and working. I didn't think I was coming back from almost any of those. So that was a little reckless, I guess. Some people would call it something else. I don't like that word. So the death wish thing, I don't really like. I was definitely out there hanging on the edge. This gets into a really, really deep conversation. I'd rather have over a beer. So you owe me a beer.
Talking about building bridges, I mean, all of us here, we think about these issues a lot, but there's a lot of people throughout the country who don't think about gender being anything different, the idea of gender being fluid or different from what you're assigned at birth. How do you even begin to have conversations with people who've never even thought of these kinds of ideas?
I don't know. Can you help me out on that one?
I'm not trying to figure it out.
It's tough. But I think we screwed up. I think we screwed it up back here when we settled this country. The Native Americans, they had 4 genders. So they had male and female, then the 2 that were in between. And the only way you can describe it in our language, because they had their own words for it, it was totally separate, the 4 of them, it's male and female, just like we have. But then they also had male, female, and female, male, transgender. So they were shamans and leaders and everything else. Because you had someone who was, maybe I have a male covering, but I still have a lot of sentiments of a female. And so I'm able to operate as a leader in the tribe on a higher level, if that makes sense. And I think when you think about it, it makes a lot of sense. So if you have these conflicts and things going on, if I'm able to look at the entire puzzle from a whole new direction, doesn't it give me a little bit of a edge? Gives me an ability to make a better decision. So they were revered at one time, the Native Americans. And it's a shame that we came here and did the things that we did in a lot of ways. Our forefathers wrote in the Bill of Rights, and they maybe got this from the Native Americans, that we are all created equal. We all deserve equal justice under the law. Everything they wrote in that Bill of Rights, everything they wrote down on those pieces of paper back in the 1700s. Why the heck do we keep screwing that up? Why can't we get that right? And I think that's just where I'm going. These are the conversations I try to have. It would be going to a little bit of a political and philosophical, theological. And if I just try to get them down to that point, then we just have conversations. At the end of the conversation, I win.
Or else.
Well, if you think about it, if you say that we're all created equal, how do you argue with that? It's kind of...
Oh, man.
I hate hearing people arguing about that. And that's what they're doing right now in Congress. They're arguing about marriage equality. Wait a second, you're arguing about equality? Does that even make sense? So hello, I just knock on all their congressmen's heads and all those people. It's like, what are you arguing about? You guys are arguing about who is better? You're arguing about worth? You're arguing about something that pisses me off.
Yeah.
So one of these days I'll run for office or something.
Don't piss off Kristin Beck. Don't do it.
Hi, Kristin. My name's Lana, and I come from a military family, Army, Navy, Marines. I'm also LES for a couple more months anyway. And I've never really understood pride, because I've always thought that pride was a bad thing, or that, why not humility? I've never understood celebrate diversity, because we should all be unified, not diversified. And I've never really understood what it meant to have heroes. I never understood athletes. I never understood actors. I haven't had that. I couldn't relate to that. And I think this is the first time that I've ever understood pride, and I've ever understood what it means to have a real hero. And I want to make sure that you know that a hero to me.
Thank you. I'm going to start crying. Thank you.
I have a question that I don't get. It's this 2014. I hate this thing that we have at work. It's always timing. You can't, I have to have this timing, and I don't know what has happened for the transgender community, but 2014 has been the year of timing. What has happened to bring transgender to the forefront, and what can I do to make sure it keeps going? I want to get your film in front of my wife, my parents, my brothers, my in-laws. How do I get this out to more people?
Thank you. Thank you for everything you said. Something you mentioned that you were part of LDS only for a short time, and it's really too bad, because there are a lot of religions that do turn their backs on us, and that's really a shame. The film will be released on CNN worldwide on September 4th. You'll start seeing a lot of advertising for it. You'll see a lot of these clips coming out throughout the month of August, and you'll see some billboards and other things. It'll also be on the website, LadyValor.com, and that's my website. So everyone that buys a DVD or video on demand from LadyValor.com, write that one down. I get like 3 cents or something, but at least it's 3 cents. But, excuse me? No, if you go on my Twitter page, it's The Lady Valor, but the web page is www.ladyvalor.com. So the straight up Lady Valor is mine. So anything on that page is me speaking. I don't let anybody else mess with that. And I have some weapons training things on there and a bunch of other stuff. So there's some neat stuff on there. So it will be available on DVD. The distributor you saw in the beginning of the film was that Wolf that came on there. Ooh. So Wolf is the largest distributor of LGBT films in the world. They've been in existence for over 30 years. They have a huge, catalog. It's giant. It's unbelievable. And they picked up Lady Valor. So go to Wolf. Check out those guys. Thank you. Thank you, Wolf. But they have an amazing catalog. Go check that out, because you'll see a lot of these other films that are being shown at the film festival. You'll see it at Wolf, and then you also see Lady Valor. But if you go to my site, ladyvalor.com, I get the 3 cents. And follow me on Twitter. So you asked, how can you help? I'm sorry, and you're still standing there. I'm going to do this really quick. So how can you help out? So view Lady Valor as a tool. And this tool, if you have a hammer, you make everything to a nail. This tool right here won't work on everything. It's going to work on 20% of the stuff. Being Taki, who's playing the film after this, that's going to work on another 20% or something. There's a lot of these films, there's a lot of things. Look at all of them as tools. So this is just one tool. Put it in your toolbox. I'm on Twitter, I'm on Facebook, there's a lot of other stuff on there, so those are other tools. Equality Utah, HRC, there's so many different ways you can do it. The center down here, the Utah Center that I just donated some money to, that's another one. And so all these things have little tiny outreaches. So do what you can with as many of those as you can. If you can help out 1 or 2 of them, then rock on. If all you do is buy the DVD and you start showing it to your family, or you start showing it to friends or whatever, then that's rock on, do it. So more of these tools you can put in your toolbox, and more of them you can start using. That's what the whole thing is about. That's why I even agreed to make this thing. And that's why whenever I see projects like Dane Lodge sitting up here and working with the youth in the community, and Utah has they are the highest homeless LGBT youth in the entire nation. Did you ever know, does everybody know that? Mm-hmm. There's so many things and it goes so deep. We all know it right here, because this is kind of like the choir. I want to talk to everybody else. I want to go talk to the church. I want to go talk to those small towns. Why in the heck are these kids being kicked out on the street? And for the most part, that's what's happening. That's wrong. So I'd like to help a program out like that. That's me helping out one of those tools. So if you want to help, that's what you do. There are percentages, small ones. This is just a little thing. But if it helps a few people out, if I save a few people's lives because we made this film, and I get my 3 cents per DVD when you go to the website.
Basically, you have to be a missionary. You don't get out of it.
Yeah. Missionaries. Sorry, I was talking too much again. Sorry. Sir?
Quick little question, then a major comment. Have you submitted to Sundance Film Festival?
Am I what?
Are you going to submit to Sundance Film Festival?
Oh, I don't know. Those guys are pretty cool. I don't know. I'm not sure. No, I don't know. This is all like, I don't have a clue
If
what
you
this
do
stuff.
and they accept, I'll take you skiing. I'm a ski coach.
You're going to ski coach?
But that's not why I came up to this.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, I'm dead serious about that.
Thank you.
And the submission deadline, the early submission, I think they're taking early submissions now, and I think up until early September you can go to a website. But anyway, what I wanted to say is about 2 weeks ago, I emailed you, and I didn't know if I'd even get a response. My son has been accepted to be a Navy SEAL, and you were kind enough amongst those 800 emails to somehow return the message, and I want to tell you how grateful I am, and that you sent a basic training program for him, which has already been forwarded to him, and then I'm going to be also sending him some sports science stuff. But it was a really big deal at my first time since dealing with my son this winter and listening to his wanting to do this. And then hearing about this and having the first live chance to see a presentation about SEALs. I know it's about more than that, but was really, really special. I just about died when I saw you're here. I'm honored to be here. And you made my day further when you talked about the handshake. Mm-hmm. Because when you talked about the handshake with the Taliban, my son says, this is a calling. Yeah. He said, this isn't about shooting them up.
Yeah.
He says, I'm 27 years old. I'm there because we need people like me making the right decisions. And of course, as a father, I'm somewhat terrified. Myself, my former wife, and my mom are like beyond 1,000% supportive. We do not want him to even cross his mind that we don't have his back. And I just want to really thank you for coming, and I'd love to buy you a beer.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
One more thing. I think you having a strong masculine and feminine side had to be a huge asset out there.
Yeah, I think it is. I would love to have society, more people understand that we all come in different shapes and sizes and stop thinking that those Barbies and those freaking magazines is what a woman looks like. It's not a real woman. They're all airbrushed and everything else. So in the audience right here, we're the real, men and women, the real ones. So let's start celebrating that. That's what I think anyway.
Hi, Kristin. I'm wondering, initially my question was, did the scenes from your span in the military and as a SEAL, do those scenes trigger you? But then I started thinking there might be family film or sections or segments that trigger you. So I'm wondering, are there any parts of the film that trigger major emotions for you?
Yeah, a couple of those shots, the military shots, when I was kind of just looking off into the distance and they were saying, wow, look at that angry, the mean look. And I start remembering back to some of those times, and we've had a lot of guys killed and a lot of things happening. So there's some times when I look at that and I go, yeah, then it puts me back to those times. The hardest ones though is when I started seeing the kids and I saw I'm up on the kitchen doing the sanding, the drywall, and my son was down below sanding with a sponge. It's like I look back on that one and it just kills me. Because it's one of those things where it's, I was given gifts that I just didn't appreciate, or I didn't understand, or I couldn't deal with at the time. And that's what, children are gifts, our friends are gifts. We have so many great experiences, so much cool stuff that we can have in our lives. And so many times we just dwindle it away. We just turn our back to it, or we just misuse it, and then that gift is no longer there. So it really hurts. So there are spots that really get me. Yes, ma'am.
This is a really shallow question. Thank you. But when you think back to Christopher, would you consider him yourself, a friend, a sibling?
That's kind of a cool question. I've never had anybody ask a question like that. Who would I consider Christopher? I guess maybe like a friend that helped me get to where I am right now. So, yeah, that was cool. Thank you.
It's a tough act to follow, but early in the film, you talked a lot about caring for yourself, and the people around you talked about caring for yourself before you engaged with other people. And I'm curious, now that you've had the time to care for yourself and to grow into yourself, if that's improved your personal relationships, and if you've been able to reestablish relationships with your family.
With the kids, I still don't really have a relationship with, and that was probably the biggest question. I'm still working on that one. That's a long journey. That's going to take some time because they're teenagers and they have enough problems on their own without having this problem stuck in their life. And that's how I see it right now. For them, it's just a big problem. So that's a long journey. I'm working on it. I don't know, I'm getting totally lost in thought. I'm still thinking about the kids. The PTSD, I think, is a big one. Yeah, I was going into my military and I was like, I'm running around. I'm learning to like myself at least. And I'm starting to take care of myself. I took too much on for a long time. So in July and August, and I think up until a little later than that, I was trying to do that healing ground. So I gave my bedroom to this guy. It was a homeless Marine. And then I gave it to some other stuff. That's why I was sleeping on that couch, because I gave my bedroom to a couple other people. And another one of the rooms somebody else was in. So I don't know, I just gave everything away. And then one of them ended up stealing like $1,700 and some other stuff happened and the whole thing just went to hell. So I ended up having to kind of close down that idea and try to reconsolidate. I am learning a lot, and I think that I'm still kind of in that puberty stage, and I'm still figuring out who I am, and I'm getting there. So I think give me like another day or two. I'm getting there. I'm still a military person. It's always about the service. It's always about the country. It's always about my brothers. It's always about so many other things, and it's not about us. And so I still have that mindset. So it's really hard for me to break away from that. And so my only concern is the transgender, those 15,000 transgender people in the military. My concern is to my LGBT community, my newly adopted community. My concerns are all of these other things, and I'm further out on the outside. So I'm trying to balance it. I'm not very good at that. Don't ever use me as like the owner or a CEO of a company, because I end up giving too much away. I won't fire anybody, no matter how bad you are. I'm a sucker. I'm a good worker, but I'm not a very good boss, I think, in the civilian world. But yeah, thank you. I'm working on it.
Hi, Kristin.
Hi.
One thing that really got me in the show was that you had said that you felt this from a very young age. Being a parent now yourself, is there something you might be able to tell the rest of us that, from going through it, that maybe as parents could maybe see as a sign or something to help them come through this and be healthy and love themselves at a young age and not go through 20 years of or 30 years of what you went through?
Yeah. Have you ever heard that song, Cats in the Cradle?
Yes.
Everybody's heard that one. Every time I hear that song, it makes me cry. And it's always about how much time we put into that time period in their lives when they're young. It's always about us being so busy and us so into that, but we have to make time for that. So the kids and their friends and everybody else, that if we can make some more time and listen, then you might hear it. There's a kid, his name is Ryland. He lives in California. There's a video about him. He's 6 or 7 now. He's real young still. So when he was a girl, sitting in his dad's closet, crying, wearing his dad's shoes, and then one of the ties, just in there, just laying there, just crying. And then every time they tried to put pink on her, every time they tried to do anything with her, it was just a mess, just tantrums, and couldn't bring her to school. They would not accept her into the school, in preschool. So many things. And so that was one of the ones that was like, it's pretty easy to see. And so those parents, the Whittingtons, they're amazing. And they said, okay, this is what he is telling us. He is telling us that he is a boy, and this is what we're going to do. And they started doing it under all kinds of flack, under so much pressure, under so much hatred from their friends and family, and this amazing. And so I support that family fully because they listen to their child. So that's like the extreme where a kid is like telling them, like really out there. So all those things in between. And for me, I just hit it so deeply that I don't know if anybody would have ever seen it. But then it's just asking the questions. That's like having some of these films out and having groups and having a little bit of publicity about what transgender is. In the 60s and 70s when I was growing up, we didn't even know what the word was. There was nothing. We didn't.
I would be honest with you. I didn't know what the word meant until about 5 years ago.
Yeah. So there's enough publicity, there's enough out there that it's starting to be better. So parents just need to be open to that and listen. Listen. That's all you gotta do.
Good advice. Thank you.
We've only got a couple minutes left. We have 2 more people, so we'll just take these as the last 2 questions, and then maybe, Kristin, you can meet with some people out front.
Some Star Trek dude is out there trying to... his laser guns.
Yes.
Sorry, George.
So, Kristin, thank you for coming to Salt Lake and for sharing your film with us. I really, truly enjoyed it. I work at a local college, and I work a lot with veterans of setting up accommodations in the classroom. And there's a lot that are on the LGBT community, and one that I think in particular who served in the, as a Marine, as a male, married, had children, and she is estranged from her children now. And wondering anything of what I could do to support her, anything that's worked for you, of people around you, of how they have supported you.
Just being there and telling some of the good stories. We publicize, and the news does this, and the media, and you watch any CNN, every news show you see, it's always those negative stories. It's all the negative. That's all they do. It's all we watch. And there's so many negative stories within the LGBT community, and those are the only things that people really talk about a lot of times. Or this person was killed, and that person got kicked out, and this person did this person is homeless, this person is on the street now doing whatever. There's a lot of positive stories out there also. And so if you can share some of those positive stories, or if you can have a couple other transgender people, I'm sure they're here in your town, who had the same thing going on, and it takes some time. And I tell you, it's going to take me some time, but I'm going to be back with my kids. And the same thing, you're going to find a couple of people here that will volunteer to do it, and then have them introduce themselves and meet them and hear about their story, and then hear it from them, from their mouths, saying, this is what I did. I still sending birthday cards, and I was doing this, and I was trying to show up on weekends, and I was doing that. And you're constantly just trying to be there. Something's going to happen. So try to find a couple of people in the community, and the transgender community here is pretty strong. And I've met a lot of folks here, very wonderful people here in Utah. Get a couple of them together and just say, hey, can I introduce you to a few people? That's what you do. That's what I would do.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks. I want to do a Dear Kristin instead of a Dear Abby. Hey, Kristin, so my dishwasher broke, and I gotta...
Kristin, first of all, thank you so much for your service and the service that you're doing now in the world. This even may be bigger than what you've done in the last 20 years, because now you're integrating all parts of yourself. And I've got to say, I work with the military, and I'm so proud to be with the folks that I work with every day, and so proud to see you and the work that you're doing. So this is the first year that Pride has been celebrated. I don't know if anybody knows that in the military.
Yes.
So it was a huge step this year, and I know that recently you were out at Hill Air Force Base, and I'm just wondering how that was for you, and what recommendations you have for those of us who are supporting to continue and to be there for everyone.
Thank you. That's a great way to finish this also. I would say the military just started celebrating Pride. I went to the CIA, NSA, DIA, FBI, and a few different FBI places, and I was there for all of their Prides, and I was a keynote to almost every agency in the government in DC. I just kept going from one to another, just giving talks and being with them and talking to them. And the biggest thing I said was, that flag, our rainbow flag, is about diversity. It's pride in diversity. It's not pride that this is who I'm with. It's not me being proud that I'm gay. It's not me. How about just pride in diversity? And that community, the LGBTQA community, we need to start including a lot more of the allies. We need to start including more of those people in that diversity. And that's what I would always tell the military. I was like, you guys, this is the choir. But there's a lot of other people that should be here and should be part of this choir, that should be part of this celebration, that should be part of celebrating diversity in America. That's what makes us good. Can you imagine if our government was run by just a whole bunch of stodgy old white dudes in ties? And what kind of is, isn't it? Okay, never mind. But the thing is that diversity, that was kind of funny. Don't print that. But it is wonderful that our, Barney Frank, the show that was on a little while ago, and then all the other, and as our government starts becoming more diverse, as it starts actually representing who we are as people, we're going to be better people. We're going to be a better country. That's what the whole military is starting to understand. That's what we are. That's what this whole thing should be turned into. Our Pride Month is pride in diversity. It's pride in all of us. It's pride in Harvey Milk and pride in, gays and lesbians and the whole Civil Rights March all the way through it, from the 60s all the way through today. It's our struggle and it's our pride in who we are as a bunch of different people that have different people that we love, have different people and different genders and everything. And that's what I used to always tell that when I talk to the military and I say that. So I'm proud to be part of that in the beginning and trying to let them open the doors a little bit wider and saying, when I see those allies in there, I go, thank you, and give them a hug. Instead of trying to push them away and saying, it's our club. This isn't our club. So that's what I try to speak about that. And if we can start understanding that more, that we don't want this to be a club. I want everybody to be part of this. It'll be a great day when a gay bar might only be one or two in a city or maybe a couple, but we all just go wherever we want because we're open and everybody else has a good time with us because we're all good people. Mm-hmm. So that when we have everything, it's just open across the board that we don't need to have our little club. It's all of us. That's what I like to speak about. Yes. Thank you.
This is really important. You have embraced us. What can we do outside of 3 cents do for you? Because I love you, I love your message. Your story has made a huge difference in my life. I want to embrace you and give you what you have given.
Buy me a beer later. No, I'm on Twitter. It's the Lady Valor. I have web pages and all that. And like I said, this is a small tool. This film right here and all the other stuff. Support your HRC, your Equality Utah. Try to support your local organizations. But then when you start seeing other efforts that are a little bit more national, and so maybe this one is because I'm fighting so hard for the military, which makes it a kind of a national cause. So the more people that I can have on board with me, the better it makes me able to represent when I'm in Congress and I'm talking to those people. Because they check your Twitter. They go, oh my God, you only have 400 followers? They won't even let you in the office. They check your Twitter when you walk in there. They check in how many followers I have. So if you can follow me on Twitter, it's a huge help. Believe it, that's true. So the Lady Valor. So
Lady Valor, Kristin
The
Beck.
Lady Valor.
Thank you so much.
So, thank you, everybody. Sorry I took so long. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Am I supposed to? Thanks, everybody.